Hey Bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a video that I'm really excited to do. It's my top 5 reads from fall of 2016. I'm going to start with listing all of the books that I read between September and November and the ratings that I gave each of them, and then I'll move into the ones that were my favorites. Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda by Becky Albertalli, which I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, which I DNF'd and gave 2 stars. Croy of the Exiles by Melina Marchetta, which I gave 3.5 out of 5 stars. Winter by Marissa Myers, which I gave 4.5 stars. The Cryptic Lines by Richard Story, which I gave 3.5 out of 5 stars. Heartless by Marissa Myers, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. Slasher Girls and Monster Boys, which is an anthology, and there's lots of authors, I'm not going to list them all, but it's edited by April Genevieve Totolki, and I gave that anthology 4 stars overall. Don't You Cry by Mary Kubica, which I gave 3.5 stars. Curse of the Wendigo by Rick Yancey, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. 10 by Gretchen McNeil, which I gave 3.5 stars. And then Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. It was pretty easy to narrow down my top 5 out of that list because I only gave 4 stars and up to 5 books. So the first one I want to talk about is Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda by Becky Albertalli, which again, I gave 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I don't read a lot of contemporary, and this is one that, I've heard a lot about, and some of my good friends had recommended that I read a long time ago, and I just was in the mood to pick up a contemporary, and I did, and it was really fun. I really liked it. Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda is a coming of age and a coming out story. So Simon is gay, but is not out at his high school, and he ends up getting into an online relationship with a boy named Blue, but we don't know who Blue is. That's just like his screen name. And the story is about kind of how all that plays out and how he ends up coming out of the closet to all his friends and family. It's a really sweet story. I loved Simon's family. There's a really good family aspect to this book, and I really appreciated that. They were just like such a normal, down-to-earth family and not the super like dysfunctional families that you typically see in YA, and that was really refreshing. And Simon himself was just a fun character, and I really enjoyed reading from his perspective. I'm also really excited because I just found out that this is being turned into a movie or something, and I'm excited to see it in theaters. I hope they do a really good job with it. We'll see. And then we have Winter by Marissa Myers, which I gave 4.5 stars. This is the final installment of the Chronicles. It's the 4th book. It's also quite long. It's like over 800 pages. It took me a long time to finish it. I mostly listened to it on audio because the narrator that does all of the audiobooks for the series is fantastic. I love her so much. I can't wait to listen to more books for her to narrate. So I definitely recommend the audiobook if you guys like audiobooks, because that whole series is just fantastic on audio. So each book in this series is a fairy tale retelling, and Winter is a Snow White retelling. I love all the characters in these books, all of the characters. I ship them so much. I really don't have anything bad to say about it. The series itself is a bit long, but it's just so fun, and I really think that the retelling aspects of it are really well done for each book, how they're all different stories, but they're all super related because of the characters and just the way it all ties together. I really enjoyed Winter. I thought it was a fantastic conclusion. Everything was like wrapped up really nicely. I enjoyed every second of that book. My next favorite is also a Marissa Meyer book, and that is Heartless. I loved Heartless. So I was able to read an arc of it. My friend Jen, who's a bookstagrammer, picked up an arc copy when we went to Y'all West earlier this year, and she was kind enough to let me borrow it, and I devoured it. It was so good. So Heartless is by Marissa Myers, but it is unrelated to the Lunar Chronicles. It's a new standalone book that she just wrote. It came out like in October or something, so it's been out for a little while, but I read it right around release time. And this book definitely had a lot of buzz, and I definitely had high expectations after, having loved the Lunar Chronicles so much, but I also was trying to not compare them. So Heartless is a Alice in Wonderland retelling. It's not even really a retelling. It's the origin story of the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, I've never really read the original Alice in Wonderland. I'm only really familiar with the Disney movie, and everything in this book definitely kind of aligned with what I had in my mind from the Disney movie. I just think the world she created was so great, which granted she didn't really create it, you know, it's largely based on the world from the Lewis Carroll book. But at the same time, I just found it really whimsical, and the feeling of it really felt like Alice in Wonderland to me. I loved the characters. I know some people thought the romance is rushed. I love the romance. I totally shipped it. They are one of my OTPs. I love Jess. I don't know why, but I do. And I just thought their relationship was so romantic, and this book broke my heart because I love them, and I guess I don't want to give spoilers, so I can't really say anything, but just know that it broke my heart the way that the story ended. And I mean, it's funny because it's a retelling, or you know, an origin story, you know how it's supposed to end, and even to the last minute I was holding out hope that something different would happen, and that's all I'm gonna say. That's how good it was, is that like I knew what was supposed to happen and I didn't want that to happen. Definitely like one of my favorite books of the year. I loved it so much, and it definitely put me in a book hangover after that. I had a hard time getting into books after it because I bawled and my heart was just broken and stomped into little pieces. I loved Heartless so much. So the next book I'm going to talk about is Slasher Girls and Monster Boys. Like I said, this is an anthology which is edited by April Genevieve Tucholsky, and there's lots of authors that contributed to these. Lots of YA authors that you're probably familiar with, like A.G. Howard and Jay Kristoff and Wendigo and Marie Lu and Danielle Page and April Genevieve Tucholsky has a story in it, and there's definitely more authors that I can't think of. And I actually picked this up, one, it was in October and I was in the Halloween mood, but also because to finish my bookish bingo of 2016 I needed to read an anthology. I don't read lots of anthologies. I don't read any anthologies. I can't remember. I mean, I'm sure I've read one in the past, but I can't remember one at all, so this could possibly be the first anthology I ever read. And I really enjoyed being able to, one, having short stories that go by really quickly, but also being exposed to so many authors that I've never read before, some authors that I have read before, and you know, finding their stories to be different from what I was used to. It's a different way. Even if it's an author that you've read before, it's a different showcase of their skills, and maybe you won't like a story that's a short story from them because it's different from anything else they've ever written. I definitely had one of those experiences, and I definitely had the experience where I like absolutely loved a story by an author I've never read. There's about 4 or 5 authors that I hadn't read that I really enjoyed their stories, and I'm looking forward to picking up more books by them in the future. So it was a really great way to sample authors, and I really enjoyed it overall, even though there were definitely some stories that I didn't like as well. And then last but not least, I have Curse of the Wendigo by Rick Yancey. This is the second book in the Monstermologist series by Rick Yancey. I read the first one, which is called The Monstermologist, in October of 2015, and then I wanted to read the second one in October of 2016. And these are really great to read around Halloween time because they're about monsters. And this one I found really interesting. You definitely see a different side to one of the main characters, the monstermologist, Eleanor, and it's told from this like 12 to 14-year-old point of view. And it's also kind of like a historical fiction because it's set around like the colonial time period of the US. And it's also told from like a diary perspective, so it's kind of like the diary of this 12-year-old boy. I guess he was 12 in the first book, so he's probably 14 or something in the second book. But I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Plan to continue reading a book in this series every October. I just think it's a fun tradition, and these are definitely like episodic books where you don't have to remember that much from the first book to be able to continue on in the series. They definitely kind of like are able to stand on their own, which I love about the series when they do that, because I am so bad about remembering things that happen, especially if I read the book over a year ago. But I definitely didn't need to remember anything about the first book other than who the main characters were and what their relationship was to each other, which I did. So those are my top 5 books that I read in the fall of 2016. If you read any of the books that I mentioned that I read in the fall, let me know down in the comments and we can talk about what you liked about them, what you didn't like about them. That's all I have for now, so until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye! It is my top 5 reads from Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda by in Winter is a Cinderella. Not a Cinderella. That's the first one. I guess the book it. So the next book I'm going to talk about is Slasher Boy. Bleh. This is the second book in the. Bye.